Why this guy? Why should you listen to this guy and Kat or Nancy or Shay? Why? Well, this is the reason why. You see, the thing is, I'm not I'm not you, but nobody's like me. I'm a unique guy. I'm a guy who grew up fairly neglected. My parents got divorced, and my mom suffered from depression. So she would come home after her three jobs and just veg out on the couch, and we could be invisible to her. I mean, that that was the type of neglect I went through, and oftentimes it was just me taking care of my brother and muddling through as best I could. Then I started dating, and as I was a boy, I dated girls, and or at least tried to date girls. I couldn't, and none of the girls would be interested in me because I was looking for these neglecting women, these rejecting women that would recapitulate the relationship I had with my mom. And then I would get into the 20s and I would be in the same situation, trying to date women that could know and never be interested in me. Now, I say this not to divide me and say, look, well, why should you listen to me? Because I'm dealing with a non-loving relationship. I wasn't abused. I wasn't yelled at. I wasn't physically hit very much. Um, and all of those things. I didn't suffer that type of abuse. I suffered a different type of abuse. A lot of young men and women did suffer from the physical abuse. And I'm not saying that their abuse is any less than mine or more than mine. I'm just saying it's a different type of abuse. And those type of childhood abuses are recapitulated in the relationships that you have later. And that's what leads me to why I'm having this podcast, because having dealt with those issues, it brings me to a point where I understand what it's like to be constantly rejected in your 20s. I understand how it is for guys to ask and get rejected, ask and get rejected, ask and get rejected. I understand. I've been through it. I know why I was doing it. I was inflicting it on myself. I agree. But still, I got the hard knocks. I got the learning of it. And that's what I'm bringing to you. Eventually I did find a woman that was willing to go out with me and married me and all of that. But there was there was a nice relationship, but there was no physical intimacy. I mean, the amount of times that we physically intimate, I could count on one hand. That's it. In 25 years, one hand. Yeah. It's average once every 5 years. Yeah. So I come at this as someone who has experienced wanting physical intimacy, but not receiving physical intimacy, because I always felt that no matter what, if I didn't have that uh, desire from her, that I wouldn't pursue. Now, I will say that if in a relationship you have the ability to seduce, if the woman seduces the man, her husband, or the man seduces the woman, his wife, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Because in the end, the seduction turns into acceptance and enthusiastic consent. And I've already talked about enthusiastic consent. That's okay. Never got to that point for me. And it never would get to the point where I would go the wrong way being take. Doesn't matter how you feel, take. That's no, you can't do that in life. You can't do that in marriage. You can't do that. Don't do that. That is wrong. That is an assault. And You have to think to yourself, would you like to be assaulted? No, you wouldn't. She doesn't want to be assaulted either. No matter how much she loves you, she does not want to be assaulted. She does not want to be hit, and you don't want to be hit. She does not want to be assaulted, and you don't want to be assaulted. Granted, she probably can't assault you, but don't do it because you wouldn't want to have it done to you. A lot of times, the golden rule I like to talk about in terms of do unto others as they would have you do unto them, which I modify to make it a little bit more thoughtful because what I like might not necessarily be what you like, but what you like is what I should do unto you. And that's really what it comes down to. So I come from this with a lot of rejections under my belt and a marriage that never, you know, almost never did anything that you would consider marriage elements. And I have been someone who suffered from sadness about this, deep sadness, as anyone would. Because if you love someone and they reject you in that way, they are rejecting you in a way that is fundamental to you. And that rejection is a dagger knife in the same way that when you have a problem and you're being shut down through neglect, like when I was a child, and like some men may do to women and some women may do to men. In terms of, I've got problems, well, not my problem, move on. Do that. And again, that's emotional neglect and that is emotional abuse. Don't do that. Your partners, you should try to look out for each other. And those are the best advice I can give for you guys, that you should try and look out for each other and try and be friends and understand that while nobody is turned on all the time, try and find the rhythm. If one's once a week and the other is once a month, maybe twice a month to compromise. It's just compromise. But why should you listen to this channel? Because I was there. I understand. I understand having this want and desire that I wanted fulfilled so badly and couldn't. I understand. I understand what it's like to be stuck with no options and not knowing what to do. I understand. And that's what I'm bringing to you because I understand what you're going through. I understand what it's like to have trouble getting a date. I understand what it's like not having access to physical intimacy. I understand all these things. And honestly, I don't think Jordan Peterson understands. I don't think Andrew Tate understands. They don't understand. They've never been through this. They've always had at the snap of a finger. They don't stress about this. You do, because they're up there. You're down here, and they don't care about you. Now, do I care about you? Well, reach out. I'll show you my caring. My caring. I mean, obviously, if I don't know you, then how could I care about you? But let yourself be known, and I'm very curious to hear what your point of view is. I'm happy to hear those point of views, the alternate point of views, and what y'all have to say and convey. Overall, I just hope you enjoy the podcast. And while I'm not going to chase your likes, as I talked about last week, I will be happy for you to watch these videos and learn from them and update your priors. and update my priors with comments and critiques that are constructive. And I really do look forward to hearing from you. And those are my answers for why I'm here and why it's not a cult. And I thank you for watching. This has been The Green Pill Secret.